Hi, welcome back. Last time, we talked a bit about everything, because I wanted everyone to be a bit caught up about what I was doing. Starting today, we're going to focus a bit more about specific things. This week, it's all about deities. So, let me tell you the story everyone tells each other about the deities, and then we'll see a bit more about other aspects. It all started with two things: order and truth. They're called Outlandeos and Falnerie. There are also four brothers, their sister, and the world. Those four were Cerdet, Noseyed, Meldit, Gilead, their sister Dielid, and the world Ecilion. The thing about living so close to each other is that some bonds tend to form. Now, Dielid and Ecilion were starting to get somewhat close. They both were falling in love with each other, but neither of them dared to tell the other. That's when Falnerie, Truth, intervened. She went up to each of them and persuaded them to tell each other their true feelings, to confess, because that's what she does. She wants truth. Now, the problem with having two great beings getting too close is that reality doesn't really like this. Having the sun and the earth getting too close would not be a good thing. And, most importantly, it's not how things are. And so Outlandeos, order, asked the four brothers to do something about it. Reluctantly, they had to agree. They would have rather saved their sister and her lover than let the two of them die. Since then, the four moons are always watching, always between the sun and the land. None of the brothers liked this, so they all agreed once a year they would not be there. They would all let their sister have one day with her lover. They made it seem like an accident, so Outlandeos wouldn't know it, but, But that's not all that happened. Because if you remember that part of the last video, you know there are way more deities than what we just seen. From their love, from their story, were born a lot of things. Pretty much every other god and goddess. From their passion was born Artanel, the embodiment of passion, of feelings, of desire. Now, being birthed into the world like this, Artanel was amazed by the beauty of everything, and he fell in love with the most beautiful star in the sky. This star, Danesneia, made herself appear to have a body so that she and Artanel could be together. They had one child, Neldeia, which, from passion and feelings and appearances, became the body. Everything related to the physical form. That's them. But that's not all that happened during their love. From them finding the brothers, but then giving in to their request, were born Kralden and Alesia, respectively deity of war and battle, and goddess of altruism and compassion. Both are very much opposites, but at the same time they cannot be separated. And that reflected onto both of them. See, they were strongly in love, and from their love was born Pitlaher, a child born of conflict, a child forced to listen to arguments and differing viewpoints, and that's what it shaped them into. Pitlaher is the god of eloquence, of conflict, of speech. Now, he spent so much time thinking about everything, about his parents, about everything else, about every differing views in the world he lived in, that from this very thinking was born reason and reflection. Celereth. Now, that's before they got separated, but after that came other things. Because when they were separated, Dielid was so heartbroken that she shed 3 tears that fell onto her lover, Ecilion. One filled the oceans and gave birth to Norleon, god of oceans, water, storms. One made the weather and gave birth to Cassadrea, the mother of seasons. And the last one made life. Now, in a world filled with immortal deities, there is not much need for death. But when life, mortal life, comes into play, death finally has a reason to awaken. Meet Thalgoa. She was here since the beginning, but she didn't really need to pay attention. Now, though, she had a part to play. The problem with life, too, is that there was too much to keep track of, and disorder started to arise in the eyes of Otlandeos. So he created Jurtaneos, judgment, justice. Because if you don't have consequences for what you do, then there can be no order. With the life, death, consequences, comes fear. And so, Volsotha came into being. But with fear also comes the opposite. If you're not afraid, you feel safe. And that's where Haven came from. Volum. That's 21. We're missing one. Where did this last one come from? Seeing life, seeing things develop and live their lives with passion and feelings. Artanel wanted to be part of it. He wanted to give them a gift that would make them passionate about something else, about something more. And so, he created Av, food, and gave it to the mortals. Now that's it. That's the 22 deities that inhabit my world. I've thought long about them, and honestly, I'm pretty proud of it. Game-wise, they're all different. They all have different buffs and different effects. Some have straightforward uses, because of course you need to have those, like Kerdet, the god of health and love. Of course, praying to him will heal you, or something of the sort, because that's just what you expect of it, and that's what it needs to be. But some have more interesting things. What would order bring you? Well, the order of things is something very important. And if you transform something, you're not following that order now, are you? So, what if you could pray to order itself, to restore that order? And imagine a volley of arrows flying your way, and suddenly, they all change back to sticks, feathers, and, some little chunks of metal. It would still hurt, don't get me wrong, but at least it wouldn't be as deadly. Or, if you want to be a bit more gruesome and cruel about it, imagine someone wearing full plate armor coming to hurt you. That armor is made of metal, and that metal had to be heated, to be shaped. What if you made it go back through that process of heating while the person is wearing it? That's some of the creative uses for some of them. Some of them have some other effects. Like, of course, the God of Night is going to give you buffs during the night. That's what you expect of it, and that's what it has to be. But there are still some other uses that are fairly creative, in my opinion. I'll talk more about all the gameplay stuff separately, because there's a lot I still don't know for sure, so I'll have to test it out and then talk about it. They all have different symbols, different temples, because all 22 live together, and everyone believes in all 22 of them, even if you have one you pray more to. If you're a barkeep, you most likely pray more to Volum or to Av than you do to Volsotha. Because your goal is not to scare people, it's to make them feel safe and have good food to serve them. If you're a hunter, you're most likely going to pray Av, maybe. Or if you're passionate about it, maybe you're going to pray to Artanel. If your goal is to scare people and make them buy your elixirs, you're going to pray Volsotha. Maybe you're going to pray Pitlaher because you need eloquence. You need to speak to them. There's a lot of combinations you can do. And I feel like that opens up a lot of doors for future players to play with. And that's all this is about, really. Another thing I like about my vision of it is that you have to have a symbol of the deity you're trying to pray to it. This symbol can be very simply done, but think of it as a Wi-Fi router. Even a cheap one will do the job, but if you have a really bad one, then yes, you're going to be able to browse YouTube or Netflix or anything, but do you think you're going to have good quality? Now, get a more well-made one, and now suddenly you see more than 1 frame a second. That's pretty much what it is. You have a very well-made symbol, which, by the way, every player will start with the symbol of their primary god somewhere on their person. But you can just as well doodle it in the sand or carve it in some wood and try to pray to that deity. It's not going to be as good, but maybe you can still reach them. That's pretty much it. There are also some ideas in my head about major deities, which are the 22, and minor deities, which are not to be prayed the same way or even at all. They're just here, and they're a bit more specific. See, I've kind of toyed around with the idea of having a minor deity for the calendar, or for certain events. Maybe the minor god of dawn. Not the sun rising, but the time of day, the air that happens, the way dawn feels. Or maybe a minor god for keys, or a minor god for a certain type of crops. They're all bound to major deities. Maybe it could be fun. I'm still not sure about that idea, because I feel like I would need to at least have some already here to then play around with it. But I feel like it would give me a lot of creative freedom around future stuff, because I could make up more minor gods as I go. That's all I have for today, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I'm gonna be replying if there are any, because I love talking about this stuff. I love talking about what I do, so I mean, that's kind of obvious with what I'm doing right here, but So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Take care.